Hey y'all, it's good to be back. Today I'm here with another video, but this one's a little bit different. As you saw from the title, I'm gonna tell you some of my pet peeves as being a visually impaired person. Now, let me give you some perspective. What does that mean? Okay, well, the actual term for it is legally blind. Alright, so when you think of legally blind, the best way for me to describe it to you is what a normal person with 20/20 vision can see at 200 feet. I have to be 20 feet close to it to see it. I have a cane. Do I like to use it? No, I don't like to call attention to myself, and I don't want your pity. So I don't. But there are some things that I wanted to share with you that really just grind our gears as visually impaired people. I can't speak for everybody, but I think most of us would agree on this. I have a few friends who have similar eye conditions, at least in the most basic sense. My first pet peeve that I sometimes have to tell people about, but usually not, it's usually when it's like an Uber or something like that, that I have to tell them about this, is when somebody's picking me up and they honk at me. You know how many cars are around and honking? How do I know, number one, where it came from? Number two, that that's you, you know? And that you're calling me, and that's why you're just call me on the phone, text me or something, you know, roll down your window. But that's the first pet peeve. Oh man, like when somebody's picking me up and they see me and they honk at me, but then I don't see them. Sometimes I do, but even then, like, it's just rude, you know what I mean? I don't know, I don't like it. I say this as if children are guiding me, but when adults are, or like people who are older than me, are trying to guide me by holding me by the wrist or by the hand. You know how when it's just like you're bringing your child along and you grab them by the wrist like that, it feels, I don't know, demeaning. I don't like it, and it's not an effective way to guide somebody. The effective way to guide somebody who's visually impaired or blind is by doing what's called sighted guide, and I try to teach as many people as I can how to do that in the situation, in the case that somebody else needs their help, which I have heard like of that happening, like after the fact of me showing them, they did end up helping somebody who was using a cane, who was trying to cross the street or something like that. So there's a certain way to do that, and I try to show my friends, acquaintances, and anybody I get a chance to teach, or anybody who would want to learn and know, I try to teach them how to do that, because there's a certain way to it, there's a certain method that makes it effective. The next pet peeve is when I ask somebody a question like, can I take this? Or something like a yes or no question, or is this yours? Or do you want this? Or something like that. If it's like a yes or no question and they do that slow blink, like, or the shrug, like, or a nod or something, to me, you're just staring at me. I have no idea what you just did, and you're just staring at me, and I'm waiting there for a response, and in your head you already had one and you already said it in your brain or with your body language. That doesn't work for us. Just say yes, no, be vocal. That doesn't, you know, we can't read body language as well as a normally sighted person would. Hello, like, answer me, and I'll ask again, and then they'll be upset. They'll be like, I said yes, and I'm like, where? Another one that was most frequent, like during when I was going to college classes on campus or in high school or things like that, was when somebody would call my name from afar. Wow. So to me, that's the most embarrassing thing, and you might think, well, how? That's the beauty of this. I get to show you my perspective on it. So think about it. If this is, you know, if I'm in like a hallway where there's like, maybe it's not completely crowded, but crowded enough to where there's a good amount of people, and you're maybe like 10 feet away from me, and you call me and I'm not facing you, or maybe I am, I have no idea, and you call me by my name, or you're like, hey, I usually won't turn around, because I'll sense how far you are with listening to how far the noise sounded like it was coming from, and I'll fear that I won't be able to find you, and I'll be looking like a chicken with my head cut off, you know, unable to find you. So that really makes me tense and makes me, like, I don't know, kind of stresses me out and gives me some like anxiety. But yeah, that's another one. This next one is kind of like a petty one, I guess. A lot of the times people would assume that I was ignoring them, like when I would pass by people in the hallway or something like that. Another thing you gotta know about my eye condition to understand this one is that I have tunnel vision. To me, I don't, because this is my normal. I've never known anything else besides from this. But I don't have depth perception, so I can't see this. I can only see it like in the camera, but I can't see this actually at all. So I don't have peripheral. So say we're passing by each other, you're walking right next to me, I can't see you. And so people would assume that I was ignoring them, like, hey, like, I was calling you, but I guess you ignored me. And I don't know, people unfortunately assume the worst sometimes, but what people won't realize unless you tell them, like I'm telling you, is that I don't see you. And trust me, if I wanted to ignore you, I would have done a better job at it. Not just by, like, ignoring you when you're right next to me, like, walking beside me. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of people would assume that I'm ignoring them, and they'll even come up to me and confront me about it and be like, hey, why'd you ignore me, and this and that. And these are people that know that I have this eye condition. The last and most common one, you definitely know of this one, and if you do this, you suck. Stop it. When people ask me how many fingers they're holding, I don't know. How many am I holding? It's just irritating. Let me tell you why. Number one, that doesn't measure somebody's sight or vision or how much somebody can see at all. Because a lot of things that go into vision, if you have vision at all, is contrast, color contrast, depth perception, which I also do not have, which is basically like when there's a step, you can tell that there's a step and how steep it is. Peripheral, as I mentioned before, colors, night and day, light in general, all those sorts of things come into play when it comes to seeing things for people with visual impairments. So for you to tell me how many fingers am I holding, if there's things that kind of blend in with your skin tone and you're far enough, that's also another thing. Are you nearsighted or farsighted? Or how far is the person? Things like that. If you hold up 2 fingers, for example, right, and there's like other colors and a lot of like busyness going on in the background, that's kind of gonna blend in. It depends on how bad the person's vision is, and how much is going on like in the background. Like I said, color, lighting, a bunch of things, right? So this is not a good telltale of how much somebody can see. Also, why would somebody lie about that? Like, is that your way of like proving it? Are you trying to catch me lying? So those are my pet peeves when it comes to visual impairment and being a legally blind individual. If you have questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. I feel like not many people know, and people are really scared. Like, I remember one time when I went to a John Legend concert and I had my cane, and I was with a family member of mine. They didn't ask me questions, they asked who I was with. But visually impaired people aren't deaf, so you can ask us questions and we're not gonna bite you, and we totally know you're there. That's happened a lot. I hear that's also happened with another person who's completely blind, that they asked the spouse what they wanted. And I don't know why that happens. I guess because it's intimidating for people, but that's why I'm here, happy to answer your questions, because the reason those things happen is because of ignorance. I want to shed light on this topic as much as I can so that you guys have a better sense of what's going on. A lot of the times too, what I notice is that when I'm trying to cross the street, since I don't like bringing my cane, nobody knows that I have visual impairment because generally I'm been told I don't look like I do. And so people might be telling me to go from their cars, but I can't see that they're telling me that. But they don't know that I can't see that they're telling me that, so they get frustrated with me. So it's just a bunch of stuff. You can never assume things about people. You really never know. But anyways, like I said, if you have any questions, I am more than happy. Please leave as many as you want, and maybe I'll gather some of my gal pals that are also visually impaired who can tell you their experiences and the situations they've been in with this kind of thing. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for watching until the end. You're a real G, alright? I appreciate you, and I hope you stay till the next one.